Well, good afternoon to you. 306 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we, as always, baby, make sense of the news. Coming up today, we're going to be joined by Mark Morgan, the former U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner, to talk about the White House. You know, Mark Morgan thinks he knows what is going on with this White House cocaine saga, so we will dig in with him. We'll find out what's happening there. Patrick Morrisey joins us, the Attorney General of the state of West Virginia, as Joe Biden tries to shove electric vehicles down America's throat. Ed Morrissey is here at 5 o'clock from Hot Air. He will react to this unbelievable new audio, jaw-dropping audio of yet another Biden family crime witness laying out the details of what he saw behind the scenes. He's now on the run for his life. Ed Morrissey has some important reaction to this. He's looked at the timeline and he's discovered some very interesting things. And Dr. Victor Davis Hanson is with us at 5:30. So insightful. He will tell us what he thinks about the state of our country right now. I'm looking forward to that conversation. And you can chat with us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Thanks for being with me today. I just had the privilege of doing the Dan Bongino show over the course of the last 3 hours. And let's get the main event started now. What do you think? You know, can we do it? While I was on with Dan's show, there was another interview happening. There was another broadcast happening simultaneously that I didn't get a chance to consume. But thankfully, the team here at the Vince Coglianese Show spent hours, all thousands of people, all of them are all named Corey and Ganamort, every single one of them. They spent thousands of hours just pouring through every moment of this interview that Tucker Carlson just did with the comedian, actor, podcaster Russel Brand. They were broadcasting this thing live on Rumble at noon Eastern time, which just so happened to be the time I was on the air today. So I didn't get a chance to consume all of this yet. I've seen some clips here or there, but I want to play some of this audio for you now because Tucker has not yet spoken in public in an interview format. He's ever since he was fired by Fox, he's done a couple of these videos, these monologues online where he talks about the events of the week on a kind of a twice-a-week basis, whatever you refer to that as, Tuesdays and Thursdays, releasing these videos with some commentary on what he's saying. But beyond that, we haven't heard a tremendous amount from Tucker. This is the first long-form experience for that. Here is a little bit of Tucker talking to Russel Brand about his relationship with Fox and how he feels now in light of the firing. Take a listen here.
It's like, how's it been in the 6 months or so since you left Fox?
Has it? Wait a second. Has it really been 6 months? Has it been that long? It doesn't seem like it's been 6 months. It feels like it was much more recent than that. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
So, since you left Fox, how have you been personally, and how does it compare to the time when you left MSNBC in terms of its emotional impact on you?
Well, I've been fired. You know, it's not the first time I've been fired. And I think in our business, when you work for a big company in media and, you know, you say what you think, there's an expectation that you could get fired. So I've always had that. And I've always tried to take the long view, not just on media, but on life. All graves go unvisited in the end. I always think that. And so I was surprised. I didn't, expect to get fired that morning at all in April.
Okay, so no, not 6 months ago. But this is, let me go back to just my conversations with Tucker ahead of his firing. I was with him the Friday night before he was fired. Remember, he's fired before he shows up to work on Monday. And on Friday night, he signed off on his program indicating to people, I'm going to see you Monday. I saw him Friday night, and there was no conversation that he was canned. We were at this Heritage Foundation thing in National Harbor, so it came as a complete and total surprise. There was nothing that even gave any indicator that this was going to occur.
So I was shocked, but I wasn't really shocked. And I wasn't mad. It's not my company. And when you work for someone else, that person reserves the right, and in fact has inherently the right to decide whether you work there or not. And I don't know why I was fired. I really don't. I'm not angry about it. You can believe me or not, but I think you can feel that I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think he is fundamentally. So isn't it crazy? But he's right on the fundamentals. It's up to, you work for a company, they can make a decision. I can tell you, I did tell him that I thought that he would be fired in a more interesting way for a more interesting reason, whatever that might. I thought he was going to totally flame out. I thought there was going to be like some explosion. He said the thing you're not allowed to say, and that Fox was scrambling. And no, it was everything has been clouded in mystery, hasn't it? Around his departure, there was the reporting on the fact that Rupert Murdoch runs that company. Obviously, he owns the company, and there was reporting on the fact that Rupert Murdoch's former fiance, that's a very recent development that they split up, became obsessed with Tucker and thought that he was a prophet from God. And she started saying this to him in front of Rupert Murdoch, and Rupert got all freaked out, and he cut off his engagement. And then Tucker started speaking in spiritual terms at the Heritage Foundation dinner that I was at that night. He started talking about the good versus evil battle in the country and how that's really what's happening here, and there's deep spiritual undertones to all of the fights that you and I are having to engage in. And that maybe that freaked out Rupert right after he had just cut off his engagement with his fiance for thinking that Tucker was a messenger from God or something. Then he starts speaking in spiritual terms, and Rupert's like, all right, that's it. And Rupert's in his 90s, right? So, and he's worth multi-billions of dollars. What does he care? He's like, you know what, cut him loose. And they're like, but Rupert, this is going to cost the company $1 billion in market share. I don't care. Cut him loose. So he was gone. Remember the theory that he was fired because of the Dominion voting machine settlement? You see this going around? The press was pushing this for a bit. Well, it was a verbal agreement. It wasn't written, but it was a part of a verbal agreement. Now, Dominion, they claim, no, this has nothing to do with us. That's what they claim. But even if you were to accept that this was a part of some sort of settlement, how would that make sense? Remember what the terms of the Dominion lawsuit were? Remember this? Dominion wanted $1.6 billion out of Fox. They said, you've damaged our business. You allowed people to go on air and to say that we were involved in stealing the last election, and you didn't stop them, or you didn't offer enough pushback or whatever. So we want $1.6 billion out of you for defaming us, right? That was the original ask in this litigation. And in the end, they settle with Fox for what? $700 million? I think that's the number, just off the top of my head. $700 million. Massive settlement. Just massive, massive settlement. All sorts of drama in the press leading up to it. The depositions, the revelations, what's going on behind the scenes, airing out Fox's dirty laundry. And they settle for $700 million. They're like, mercy, I'm out. I'm going to cry uncle. $700 million is a massive payment. And so you're saying on top of $700 million, the next move was to can Tucker? What? So let me add the math up there. They lost $1 billion in market cap the next day after firing Tucker. So the financial penalty to Fox was $1.7 billion. That's higher than what Dominion was asking for in the first place. What kind of settlement is that? That math doesn't add up to me. It never did. But Tucker's saying, look, I'm not mad about it. It's fine. They're a company. They can make whatever decision they want. I didn't expect to go out, but I'm out. I'm not upset about it. And in fact, I'm happy now. Here he is talking about how he's happy.
I wish Fox well. There was, ugly leaking. I'm a racist or whatever they leaked, or someone there leaked to the New York Times. But that's not true. And I think the people who run the company know that's not true. I actually don't think they did it. And I'm not mad about it. And I've been happy. I guess the only thing that bothers me is I'm 54. And when you get a little bit older, and my wife and I, our children are grown and we live in rural settings, as you do, because we believe in nature and God and dogs, you can lose your drive. I mean, it's just a little bit too nice, kind of. And I do feel like we, people who are healthy and aware and who can read, have an obligation to be engaged in the life of the community they live in, and the life of the country they live in, and the life of the world to the extent that they can. And so my only fear has been maybe being a little bit too happy. I've spent a lot of time trout fishing, a lot of time, we have 4 dogs, a lot of time with my dogs and my wife, and a lot of kind of late breakfast outside and stuff. And, that's not, that's great, but life has got to be more than that. So now I'm back to work, and I'm grateful to be doing that.
That's good. I'm glad he's doing this, getting back into the game. I can understand it, though. Take a break. The allure of relaxation and being around your loved ones and the dogs and the fishing. That sounds all wonderful. But look, this is true of all of us. Has God given you blessings in your life? Are there things that you can do that are better than other people? Do you recognize that in yourself? You know, like God made me particularly talented at this thing. I've worked hard at it, but that's a product of the blessings God has bestowed upon me. Well, if you're going to glorify him, you better use those talents. You better use what God gave you. God gave Tucker Carlson a tremendous amount of talent. And he has not a choice. He has an obligation to use that. He has an obligation. There's a reason he has those gifts. And so I'm glad to see he's re-engaging in this. And we'll see what comes next. I mean, there's a lot of big things on the horizon for him, I think. Now, what else? There's a bit of journalism built into this. He told Russel Brand that he actually had a conversation with the former chief of police of the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, who told him something very interesting about the events of January 6th that has not been well publicized before, if at all.
I mean, I had no thought in my head as I watched this happen on television and in the subsequent weeks that U.S. law enforcement or military agencies had anything to do with it. That never crossed my mind. I never thought it was a false flag or anything like that. I'm not a conspiracist by temperament. I never thought that. And then I interviewed the chief of the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, in an interview that was never aired on Fox, by the way. I was fired before it could air. I'm going to interview him again. But Stephen Sund was the totally non-political, worked for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, this was not some right-wing activist. He was the chief of the Capitol Police on January 6th. And he said, oh, yeah. That crowd was filled with federal agents. What? Yes. Well, he would know, of course, because he was in charge of security at the site.
Well, that seems important. Now, of course, we have found out over the course of some time about the presence of all sorts of, confidential informants and federal agents in the crowd on January 6th of 2021. But, of course, we've never gotten true clarity on their roles. Never gotten kind of a fulsome assessment of the role that the federal agents have all played. And that seems important, doesn't it? In an America where it seems like, we have an entire administration whose policies revolve around the events of January 6th, you may want to know the way your tax dollars were being spent on that day. That is a very important detail. Also, Tucker was asked about Donald Trump, what he thinks of Trump, what Trump's role has been in our country and its history. Here's how he answered.
I think looking back on this 10 years from now, assuming we're still around, I think we're going to see Trump's emergence as the most significant thing to happen in American politics in 100 years, because he reoriented the Republican Party against the wishes of Republican leaders. But when I think about Trump right now, so it's July of 2023, I'm struck by his foreign policy views. Trump is the only person with stature in the Republican Party, really, who's saying, wait a second, why are we supporting an endless war in Ukraine? And that, leaving aside whether Trump's going to get the nomination or get elected president or would be a good president, I can't even assess that. All I can say at this point is I'm so grateful that he has that position. He's right.
Yeah, and he's got a big, pulpit from which to do it. Now, should he get the bully pulpit back, it'll be an even bigger stage. But for now, Trump is the voice who is expressing some realism around this issue and reminding people that we have to have an end state. You talk to military guys, they always talk about what the end state is. What's the actual end of this mission? What is the goal here? All right, I've got more audio coming up as Tucker does this interview with Russel Brand. I'll share that with you. Bidenomics is hilarious and disappointing, of course. We'll talk about some of that. Cocaine at the White House. Nobody knows what to call it. It continues to be a big mystery. We're going to keep meaning the name of the whole saga. I still like Blogazi, but we'll keep workshopping it throughout the Vince Coglianese Show here on WMAL.
The refugees in that region, the number of people killed in that war. I mean, Europe will never be the same because of this war, and it really matters. And Trump alone among popular figures in both parties understands that, and I'm grateful for it. Whether he gets the nomination or gets elected, words really matter. Saying something true out loud matters. And he is saying true things about Ukraine, and God bless him.
That's true. And the opposite of that is cowardice. I mean, the opposite of that is refusing to say out loud things that are true because you're scared of the consequences. Look, I get it's all degrees of cowardice. I get, a couple years back, if you had asked, and even today especially, if you ask a room full of people, good people, have you ever, bit your tongue, not expressed yourself because you feel like you can't, otherwise you feel like your life would be blown up. Almost every hand, I think every hand would go up unless there was something wrong with you. You pick your battles, right? That definitely happens. So I'm not trying to impugn everybody. I mean, everyone has to go through this. So you take an inventory and you're like, okay, am I ready to say this and defend it in the face of all of these attacks? But boy, the truth is really an important thing, isn't it? It seems like I know it doesn't seem like it is the only way out of all of this. There's a lot of lying going on and a lot of enforced lying going on. And the more it's allowed to occur, the harder it's going to get to be able to tell the truth. The consequences will become more and more steep. And on that point, here's Tucker on his role in terms of just his presence in the country and what he needs to do.
Well, I think my role is to tell the truth to the extent I can see it, to say what I think is true, always with the knowledge that we see everything, through a glass darkly. We don't see things clearly. We don't have perspective on ourselves, the world around us. We get a lot wrong. I've gotten a lot wrong, that's for sure. But you do your best. And you cannot allow people to force you to lie, period. So that's how I see my role.
Don't allow people to force you to lie. Yeah, that's an additional piece of excellent guidance. So there's Tucker. He did this big interview with Russel Brand over on Rumble, which is kind of neat. The alternative to YouTube, the free speech alternative to YouTube, which is constantly banning people for having real conversations. That's not a good thing. That's a very disappointing development. Let me get Donna and Frederick in here. She wants to weigh in on the Rumble factor. She's on line 3. Donna, go ahead. Good afternoon.
Hi, Vince. Good afternoon. By the way, you did good. I heard bits and pieces in between my busy morning, but you sounded great on Dan's show today.
Thank you.
You're amazing. And I have to say, to Corey's credit, he really puts your afternoon show together well for you. And I'm going to just kind of segue my way over to Rumble because there are some really interesting intellectual citizen journalists that are really pounding the pavement and making a difference. I suggest people look at their ratings, their top shows. It's amazing.
It is. It is amazing. And you know what? It's very encouraging. A couple years ago, I don't think I would have seen it happening. I'm glad to see it happening. There's some fire underneath, and there's some wind at the sails of this alternative economy that's rising. And boy, that's a real blessing. And by the way, this is in a week full of blessings for this country. These judges who came out with these great rulings, the respect for the Constitution, there are still a lot of very good things happening in our country. And that appeals to me. I'm optimistic about the future, but it's going to take a good fight. Thank you, Donna, for the call and the compliment. Hold tight. I've got a lot more ahead, including on the Blow Ghazi at the White House. Yeah, baby. 3:35 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Mark Morgan joins us at 4 o'clock. He thinks he knows what's going on with the cocaine saga at the White House. We'll get his details ahead. Patrick Morrisey, the Attorney General of the state of West Virginia, is here at 4:30. The Biden administration pushing those electric cars. Good idea? Not so much. Ed Morrissey will be here at 5 o'clock. As we explore yet another Biden family corruption whistleblower out with important new information today. And Dr. Victor Davis Hanson joins us at 5:30. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Always appreciate your insights and your additions to the program. In fact, let's go to Mark, who's in Virginia Beach on line 2 right now. Mark, good afternoon. You are on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Mark. Mark just dropped. Are you telling me that he hung up at the moment I was going to call him? Wow. That's some timing. Sorry about that, Mark. Nick is in Purcellville. Let's go to Nick in Purcellville now. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Nick.
Hey, Vince. This whole cocaine fiasco at the White House sounds like a good episode of Perry Mason. And it would be called The Case of the Curious Cocaine.
The Case of the Curious Cocaine. So,
yes.
What you're referencing is a Perry Mason movie from 1935 is the reference you're invoking. What's that?
and the TV show too. They had it on the TV show.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. A little more contemporary. I was like, but yes. So the case of the curious cocaine. It appeals to me because of the alliteration. I like that as a name.
Well, this would be a TV special, and Ted Cruz could play Perry Mason, who's defending Donald Trump against accusations that he colluded with a Russian spy to plant cocaine in the White House.
Yeah.
And
Who's been saying that? I saw some of the betting markets were thinking that maybe Trump had left the cocaine in the White House to try and to frame Hunter Biden. I don't know why you would need to smuggle cocaine in to frame Hunter Biden for a drug problem. I'm not certain the logic about that that.
Yeah, it's kind of redundant.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Nick, thank you very much. Everyone's come up with names here. Sorry, Nick, did you have one more thing? And he's gone. That's okay. That was my fault. Thank you, Nick. Let me get Dave calling in from Alexandria here, line 2. Dave, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Dave.
Yeah, hi, Vince. I think there are 2 songs, one using the words in a title and one in the lyrics. But since the Bidens have moved into the White House, property values have gone down in the area. So you should call it the Sugar Shack. The
Sugar Shack. Remind me, Dave, why is the Sugar Shack a perfect name for this, other than the obvious that the cocaine looks like sugar?
Well, that, and like I say, the Bidenomics have turned the economy down in the area, so the property value of the White House has gone down. So, Sugar Shack.
Yeah, Sugar Shack. Are you referring to, is this a Jimmy Gilmer song?
I honestly, I don't recall.
Okay, but you're talking about an actual piece of music called the Sugar Shack, correct?
I think there is a song titled Sugar Shack, but there's also a more recent tune from somewhere in the 90s. I wish I could remember the name.
The Love Shack? Is that what you're talking about?
Which one?
You're talking about the Love Shack?
The Love Shack. Oh yeah, that's it.
So this is the music I thought you were referring to. Jimmy Gilmer and the Fireballs, the Sugar Shack. That's good. Anyway, that's we're coming up with the names. David is here now from Bay Bridge. He's on line 1. David, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call. I listen to you quite a bit, but I don't call much. But I wanted you to know I listened to you a lot on Bongino today, and I think you're doing a good job to keep up with a job like that for 6 hours, because I know it's tedious, and you're a good man, and I really enjoy listening to you.
Well, David, thank you for calling in. Have you been listening for some time now to WMAL or to the show in particular?
I liked it better when you were on in the mornings, because I thought I can relate to you better than I can now, Larry.
Oh, well, to each his own. But I appreciate that, David. I had the pleasure of filling in for Larry this past week. That was a really nice thing, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it works better for people's schedules. They're on the road in the morning, and that's their radio time. Everybody's got a different time. But David, thank you very much. I really appreciate the call today and for your listenership, sir.
Well, God bless you, and keep up your good work.
All right, David. Thank you very much. I got Mike calling in from Washington, D.C. now on line 3. Mike, you're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, sir.
Hey, yeah, first of all, I think you're doing a good job. I mean, you seem like you're the hardest working man I see in radio right now. You're working day and night, so congratulations for the job you're doing. And one of the reasons why I was calling, I couldn't help but stop laughing when I was talking to your screen caller. I said, well, why don't you invite Karinge and Hunter Biden to be a guest on your show?
Can you imagine?
Let him defend himself.
You can't even get it out, Mike.
I'm just saying that. Invite them on your show and let him defend himself. See what he got to say, especially Karinge. Especially one other thing, when they call it a Sunday show and when they always talk about gay rights, how come they never throw back in their face? Well, what about heterosexual rights? What about the rights of the heterosexual community?
Yeah.
Why is the White House in Congress? I mean, y'all coming up with all these gay rights bill, but you never not one time have any of them come up with a heterosexual rights bill to protect the rights of the heterosexual, which is discrimination because they're coming up with a bill for one group, and not coming up for the
well, sure. Where's Straight Pride Month, Mike? Where's Straight Pride Month? Isn't that supposed to happen soon?
There you go. And as you know, your president, he never done that at the White House, again, discriminating against the heterosexual community.
Yeah,
and I think that these questions need to be asked. One final question. When are you going to have a town hall meeting with Donald Trump?
A town hall with Donald Trump. That could be kind of fun. I honestly, as much as I'd appreciate, well, first of all, I'd appreciate any venue with Donald Trump. I've interviewed him a couple times. A town hall venue would be cool, but I'd take a Donald Trump interview any way I could get it. If it meant the town hall, great. If it means having him on, talking to him again, that's awesome too. I'd love to do it. So, Mike, I don't have an answer, but that's the kind of thing we'll keep pursuing. We're always trying to get those big interviews.
Okay, don't forget to get Karinge. Right,
Mike, thank you. You're amusing me, man. I appreciate the call. Mike, he can't. He's laughing as he even suggests it because he'd like us to have Hunter Biden and Karinge on the show so we could question. Me too. So we'll see what we can get out of them, and we'll set the ground rules. No binders, no crack cocaine. Those are the rules for the interview. Let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the calls today, and everyone's got so many great things to say. Andrew is in Frederick now, line 1. Andrew, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Vince. Thanks for taking my call, man. I just wanted to say how impressed I am. Your ability to keep going strong after doing 3 hours filling in for Dan. Love the show, and look, I see you pop up all over the place. You're a busy man. I love WMAL. Listen from morning till night every day. It's on, all of the presets on my radio. So if I bump the damn switch on the steering wheel, I don't miss a word.
That's a good move. I sometimes accidentally bump into the presets, and then I forget which preset is what station. So I'm like clicking. I'm like, where is MAL? I got to get back to Chris Plant. I got to get back to Larry, and eventually I'll find my way over to it. But that's a good idea. Make every preset WMAL. You'll never have that problem.
Exactly.
That's so smart. Thank you, Andrew. That's good advice. Well, and I'm going to follow it. I'm going to encourage everyone else to follow it too. Every single preset. There's Andrew calling in. Nice to hear from him today. Okay, I've got some audio for you that I need to get to. It is about this cocaine story at the White House. You've got all these Republicans who are demanding answers now. James Comer on the Oversight Committee, Tom Cotton in the United States Senate, both asking the Secret Service director, will you please explain to us the security protocols at the White House? How does this work? How can you sneak in an illicit substance into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and nobody detects it and it just gets left for a time and then eventually somebody might discover it? None of this even makes any sense at all. So there's a couple things going on. I'll talk more about the security in a moment. But first, a question today during the kids' press briefing. You had Karinge answering some questions from the New York Post's Caitlin Dornbos. The New York Post, one of the few news outlets in America that routinely asks good, important questions. Here is Caitlin Dornbos asking the White House to rule out that it was Hunter Biden who left the blow in the White House.
Sorry to bring up cocaine again, but there was a question yesterday during the press gaggle with Andrew Bates that was, I guess, he said that he was avoiding it because of the Hatch Act. I'm just asking again, can we just say once and for all whether or not the cocaine belonged to the Biden family?
So, a couple of things there.
You can't hear it, and people are laughing because she kind of gestured. You can't hear a gesture. That's why I'm explaining to you. She throws her hands up a bit, and she kind of like rolls her eyes and looks off to the side, and everybody starts giggling because they want to impress her, that they think she's funny. It's like the most high school nonsense ever. And so now she's going to say a couple things here, says Karinge, and I can assure you they are not going to be in any way clarifying.
He mentioned the Hatch Act because the question was posed to him using Donald Trump, and so he was trying to be very mindful. Okay, I hear you, but you're asking me a question, so I'm answering it for you. And so that's why he said.
Is she losing her composure? Do you ever think like a question like this, like she's just going to end with like, it's like her crying? Like, I don't want, why did you ask me that? Like, she really does seem like really scared of the process. You ever see those videos of fainting goats? You know what I'm talking about? Corey, you've ever seen a fainting goat? They're hilarious videos. I don't even know why God created fainting goats exactly, or what Darwinian purpose they might serve. But you jump in front of it, you go, whoo, and the goat goes, it like locks up, and it just falls over like it died right in front of you. And it didn't. It's fine, but that's why they call them fainting goats. And she seems kind of panicked. Just, Karinge, could you spell your name? I'm not going to make any comment from here.
The Hatch Act, so I would, have you read the transcript and read the transcript fully so you can see exactly what he was trying to say.
That's not the
question.
question.
That's number one. So we're not avoiding the question. That is not true. We've answered this question, litigated this question for the last 2 days.
Litigated
exhaustively. There has been some irresponsible reporting about the family. And
by whom?
And so
Name
I gotta
names.
call that out here.
Name names. Go ahead, call it out. Who's irresponsibly reporting on the family? What is she even talking about here? You've got media outlets who are assiduously avoiding, even suggesting that the guy who's known for his drug problem may have actually brought cocaine to the White House. What are you talking about? What reporting?
And I have been very clear. I was clear 2 days ago when talking about this over and over again as I was being asked a question. As you know, and media outlets reported this, the Biden family was not here. They were not here.
Yeah, but
they were at Camp David.
So what does that have to do with anything exactly? So it's about, okay, so they have an alibi is what she's trying to suggest. The Biden family has an alibi. It was not the Biden family. They weren't even here in the building. Okay. Were they in the building at the same time as the coke at any point? Can you answer that question? When did the coke arrive? Do you know? When did it arrive? Do you have a clear answer to that? No, they don't. The White House, the Secret Service is getting to the bottom of it. But the thing you should know is that the Bidens, specifically Hunter, was not in the White House when the cocaine was discovered.
They were not here Friday. They were not here Saturday. They were not here Sunday.
I like that she knows the days of the week, though. I'm proud of her. I didn't know she knew that. Can you finish them?
They were not even here Monday. They came back on Tuesday. So to ask that
She got them in order. Isn't that great? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. She left out Wednesday and Thursday, so, still a jump ball whether or not she can finish the whole week.
Question is actually incredibly irresponsible. And
wait. She said that the New York Post question was incredibly irresponsible. It's incredibly irresponsible to ask whether or not the crackhead had crack at the White House.
Incredibly irresponsible, and I'll just leave it there.
Ooh, I see a little finish on the part of Karinge. Yeah, there you go. So Karinge says it's incredibly irresponsible. Now, what actually? So the question that was asked yesterday of Andrew Bates was aboard. I think this was aboard a plane, right? It was recorded. It was one of these on Air Force One gaggles, and so they had somebody who's a little more adept at speaking English answer the question, but he refused to even acknowledge. They didn't spike the football. They didn't rule out that it was Hunter Biden's coke. They were just asked a simple question. The question, of course, involves a lot of throat clearing. Whoever this reporter is asks, like, well, Trump said it may have been Hunter's and Joe's, and can you rule that out? You didn't have to do that. Just ask him, is it Hunter's coke? Is it Hunter's coke? Yes or no? And Andrew Bates just dances away.
Former President Trump has made some pretty wild posts recently on social media. One of them was that the cocaine found in the White House had belonged to either the president or his son. Are you willing to say that that's not the case, that they don't belong to them?
I don't have a response to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act.
Yes. Obviously, everyone knows the Hatch Act covers Hunter Biden's cocaine addiction. Like this, why do we think we have a Hatch Act? It was designed specifically for this particular, very unique, specific circumstance. So thank goodness for the Hatch Act. You don't have to answer questions about Hunter Biden because of the Hatch Act. It's 3. Well, I never thought our conversation would lead into fainting goats, but then again, I never thought that Hunter Biden would bring cocaine into the White House, and here we are. We have an expert on fainting goats on the line. Ann is calling in from Warrenton on line 5. Ann, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. How are you?
I'm doing well. So tell me about fainting goats. Why do they exist?
Okay, I really wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I have a friend of mine where I buy chickens, and she has fainting goats. She told me that sheep herders would keep fainting goats with their flocks so that when predators came along and the sheep took off, of course, the fainting goats would faint because they were scared, and then the predator, be it wolves, coyotes, the predator would go after the fainting goats, therefore protecting the herd of sheep.
So they're the bait. I got it. So they're the weak gazelle. They're the one who gets eaten first. So the goats faint. But my issue, that's first of all, that's fascinating history there. But how did they even come into existence then? You'd think something that is that easily consumed wouldn't actually be able to sustain itself. You know what I mean?
Well, primarily they're just pets now. And I will say the lady that I get my chickens from, she did have them when she was free-ranging her chickens. She did have the fainting goats amongst them, as well as other goats that she raised and sells as pets for profit.
Have you ever seen one faint, Ann?
Yes, I have. She did it, and it was absolutely hysterical.
Oh, what a sight. That's amazing. Ann, thank you for that. That was useful. I really appreciate that. Yeah, to protect the herd.
No problem.
Somebody's got to get eaten. Bring in a fainting goat. I'm going to get one for the house. It's $3.58.